Now let me ask you this. If a true AI entity would be created, an artificial intelligence capable of existing on its own, and it would express the intention of wanting to create something, has generated something pixel by pixel, would you still feel cheated if that was its ability? What's up everybody, and welcome to today's video. I would like to address the fact that the internet is on fire, and what I mean by this is that websites such as Artstation are being under siege by the artists that are generally posting content on there, pretty much not being happy about all the AI art that has now invaded the website, and the owners of the website seemingly don't do anything about it. Now, I can totally understand where the artists are coming from. The website, the main page, any page on the website is really a place for people to be able to post their work and obviously be able to showcase what they've done and pretty much prove their prowess to people that follow them. But what AI art is doing, it's basically taking over that space and effectively making sure that artists are not as visible as they used to be. And, considering how an AI can pretty much make a piece of artwork in less than, I don't know, a minute, then you can imagine how these websites can be overflooded. So what does the community want? So effectively, they want the website to either remove the AI art completely or maybe filter it out so that it doesn't show up on the main page or any page unless the person who's searching for art indicates that they are, looking for AI art. A lot of the controversy goes around the fact that the AI steals someone else's work, style, they look at millions of references and then they create art that is reminiscent of what other people have done. And they've taken, years to get to the skill level they needed to be able to achieve that work. And an AI does it in a couple of minutes. So that's what pisses people off. It makes them lose their position within the community in terms of their trending amount, and people have worked for years to be able to achieve that, and now AI such as Midjourney is coming in and taking that over. So a lot of people are really pissed off, and they're demanding that websites such as Artstation are taking a stand on this, and they respond and they actually make some adjustments for the better of the platform, because ultimately creators, the creatives, the artists and so on are the people who make the content on Artstation, who are making the platform as popular as it is. Now, before we dive a bit deeper into this, let's just try and explain what AI is. And I'm actually looking at a website where it specifically tells us what are the types of AI, and they're saying there's a weak AI and a strong AI. So a weak AI is also called a narrow AI or artificial narrow intelligence. It's an AI trained to perform specific tasks. And weak AI drives most of the AI that surrounds us today. Now, so whatever you're considering a machine that does things on its own and so on, that would be a weak AI. Narrow might be a more accurate description for this type of AI, as it is anything but weak. It enables some powerful applications such as Apple's Siri, Amazon Alexa, IBM Watson, and autonomous vehicles. So they're basically saying the weak AI is not exactly the proper way to call it, but narrow AI seems a bit better to do that. Now, the second one, the strong AI, is made up of artificial intelligence and artificial super intelligence. So basically, if we just call this AI as well, it is a theoretical form of AI where a machine would have the intelligence of a human or greater. It would have a self-aware consciousness that has the ability to solve problem, learn, and plan for the future. Artificial superintelligence, also known as superintelligence, will surpass the intelligence and ability of the human brain, while strong AI is still entirely theoretical with no practical examples in use today. The AI researchers are exploring its development. In the meantime, the best examples of this type of AI might be from science fiction, such as Hall from the Rogue Computer Assistant in 2001: A Space Odyssey. So with that said, let's have a look. Now, I have some form of investment in terms of AI. I actually use Midjourney myself, and the way I use it is I effectively generate nebulas for 3D space scenes, which I then stitch together in a software like Photoshop, and then put that together and I make my own skyboxes. So that's how I use AI, and I can also use it to create references and so on. But again, ultimately I understand how this process goes, and I understand how the AI functions, how all of these sort of models function. They're being trained and they're looking at people's work to be able to match that style. So whether or not I am doing the right thing, I am profiteering over this, I don't know what to say as of yet. I believe I will just sit on the sidewalk and just watch it a bit longer and see what happens. I do believe regulation needs to be in place of some kind. I just don't know exactly what the solution is and how it can be done. But hopefully in today's video we'll be exploring some of those notions. We'll go through a few points that have been made about AI, and then a bit of far-fetched sort of ideas, things that are trending on the edge of not fantasy, but let's just say science fiction. Although, in modern times, things that seem like science fiction 20, 30, 40 years ago have now become a reality. So who knows how this will look like in a decade or two. So let's not delay it any further, and let's just begin that part of the video. Now let's think about it. How does the AI does the work that it does? So it looks over on the internet for reference, looking for millions of images, thus to come up with a result based on the prompt that you're putting in or whatever other sort of parameters you are trying to go for. Now, people do this as well. Most work is inspired and developed based on someone else's style or methods. Now, it's your ability to as a creator to create your own identity, out of which you will evoke your own creative control and the identity that really makes your artwork unique. Now, the AI looks at imitating, or for a better word to be used here, more precisely, mimicking the countless artists it sort of siphons through in order to create a blend that best suits the prompt that you've used. Now, a lot of the tools, or some of the tools, I'm not really sure, you use, this primarily applies to digital artists, are somewhat AI driven as well. So think of the sharpening tool in Photoshop, or the engine that powers brushes in Photoshop as a whole. Those are things that are AI driven or machine learning driven as well. Now, machine learning is also expanding performance in video games. Think of DLSS and other such technologies, and other processes that are being sped up that would otherwise require high-end hardware that just people can't afford. So there are some other functions in there, obviously not necessarily related to this, but I'm just trying to give some examples of where AI is being used in a more positive way. Now, AI is to the modern artist what cameras were to the painters of old when it first came out. Now, it feels like the AI is following the same thread, but as history has showed it, cameras never truly replaced an artist or a painter. More tools were developed for those people, for painters and so on, for them to create even more unique work. So overall, it just the world expanded beyond that scope. Now, AI-driven art is flooding websites such as Artstation and making unique art made by actual artists become less and less visible. This is a clear drawback, and I can understand how loads of people would be not even mildly upset, just really upset. I believe it's up to the companies that run these websites to make sure the filtering is in place, and that if this art is on their website, they should be able to segment it off into a branch where people can see it if they're interested. If not, they can just filter it out. Again, by default, I would make sure that this art is not visible unless people actually look for that category. Now, this unregulated process is what really drives people mad. I mean, sure, it's almost impossible to drop, to stop this process from people creating mugs or t-shirts with these designs. I mean, let's be honest, your local printing shop could probably do this for you. But websites where art is being uploaded by users, where it's on display, and where the artists are competing for likes and for views, that's where you need to regulate it and make sure that people have a space in which they can show their creativity and also find customers that are willing to pay for that unique art that they're creating. If you look at Artstation right now, all the no to AI imagery, if you just easily just quickly replace all of that with AI generated imagery, then what you're getting is all of the artwork all of a sudden it gets muddled with the rest of the AI. The statement becomes invisible. The secret creativity is now blended in with the AI generated drivel. I mean, ironically, the websites that are now being flooded by these images will eventually get to feed the AI that is actually ripping the material from. So you'll feed the AI drivel back into the AI at some point, depending on how how more of these sort of versions come out and how much more they want to search and learn. I mean, you can obviously see between different models that there is a certain aesthetic to each of them that sort of kind of permeates throughout every image that they generate. So what I would like to do is also look through some of the stuff that people have said, people that have been vocal in the community, and just try and understand what their stance is on all of this. What I would say is that effectively the AIs are stealing people's work. They're obviously scouring the internet for millions of images and looking at those specific types just to try and match up with the prompt that you've requested and try and give you a finished product. Now, as Albert Einstein has said in the past, the secret to creativity is knowing how to hide your sources. And I think AIs are really good at doing that, because obviously you can't really pinpoint what they've used and how they used it. But then you've also got Wilson Misner, who's a screenwriter. He said, if you steal from one author, it's plagiarism. But if you steal from more people, from many authors, it's research. So is Midjourney, for example, actually doing research? In a way, that's why it's called training the model, because they're effectively researching to get better and better at it. At some point, they'll get the accuracy so good, the accuracy will be so good that the mistakes made by the AI will almost be unseeable by the naked eye. Only probably another AI will be able to notice whenever this is generated by another AI. So what some of the community people in the community have said. So I've got a guy called Nightingale Mason, interesting name, right? So he said you should check out a documentary from Tim's Vermeer. It goes into how Vermeer painted with a camera obscura. Art critics hate the technology and this technology in art, but real artists use anything that is available to them because the image they want, and it has always been so. Now, somebody else has said, I'm not going to go over something that has no relevance to the point. There is no real artist where AI art is used, since there is no difference between putting a prompt and commissioning another artist to do the work for you. I mean, I'm not sure if you're agreeing with this, but I can see his point. This is an extremely different case from anything that came before, and ignoring the reasons given for why it's an issue is disingenuous and idiotic, the guy says. If AI artists are real artists, anyone who commissions art is also an artist. So the standard simplify becomes too low to the point it becomes an arbitrary term with no meaning. So basically, the term artist loses its meaning because everybody can effectively be one, as long as they can just go to an AI and request a prompt or type in a prompt. Now, the other guy says, well, it's not the same at all, because the iterating process alone takes way longer to get a good image than simply painting something ourselves. I don't know what to say about. I mean, I don't agree with that. It really depends on how you're looking at it. If you're saying the process of sorting out an AI capable of doing very good imagery will take far longer to do that than to, for example, learn how to make the artwork yourself, maybe. I don't know how long these things have been into development. It really depends by model to model and the company and how much they invested into it. But including cycling, so some of the things he's saying, this includes cycling back to the image to the in-paint section to change another part of it, then reworking the prompt, crafting it and get to the point where you get the image that you want. If you're talking about people who just type "make me a cat in a hat" and that's it, then sure, I guess those are not artists, but those are obvious. Again, I think there's no point where do you draw the line on this? It's quite difficult to work that out. And then there's the reference side of things, he says. Instead of photo bashing with pixels and stock footage, we can use AI to get the reference images we want. I guess the question is, how does the person use the AI, and where is that line that you draw? There are cats that have been trained to paint with their paws, and the owners sell their work with copyright. To me, that is more relevant to AI than having another human do it. I mean, you know, that's a fair point, I guess. I think what I agree with the most is the reference part, where you can create reference with an AI quite quickly rather than photo bashing. And I get what he's saying, but at the same time, you know, when you photo bash, I mean, I can probably go and buy a stock you know, folder full of stock photos in which I can photo bash from. So I still pay somebody for that, like somebody who's actually done the work, who's gone out there into the wild, taken photos and given them to me to photo bash. But then there are people who obviously will just go in and type in a prompt, and the AI does the work for them. You know, scours for the entire internet, Google Images, whatever, and brings all that content together and creates it. It's, yeah, it really depends on where you personally draw the line. But again, an unregulated process means that this can go sideways very quickly. We also have people that have started a petition, and yeah, they're getting votes, and you know, that's pretty good. So Jordan Bolivar, I think I'm saying that name right, started his own petition, and he says, "I am an artist like many others who make a living off of people commissioning him to make the art. AI art steals from artists alive and dead to create essentially a Frankenstein artwork made from art around the world. Now, real artists are losing money because people would rather pay an AI, you know, $10 for something, and even $50 to make an artwork for them that was stolen from countless other artworks. Now, many people are oblivious or simply do not care about the real artists, so you know, they'll just order that. So he's asking for help to raise you know, the community's voice out about this issue, as it is severely hurting the once thriving art community. And again, you know, I totally understand where he's coming from, and I agree what he's saying, that this is it's not normal for people to now lose their footing within the industry because there is the next best thing that just sort of does things. It's not feeding more mouths, it's actually feeding less people because of this, because now you've got these big corporations. Like I've read somewhere that Shutterstock have bought 2 or 3 different AI technologies that they're most likely going to incorporate on their websites, so they can generate reference images for customers instead of having to basically have people uploading photos for those customers, and Shutterstock only taking a you know, percentage of the profit when they can take all of the profit. Now, if you stick around for just a little bit longer, I'm going to explain to you some far out concepts, some things that I think are going towards the fringe of reality, of our current reality, that is. But let's just think about it, right? AI art, or AI driven art, will succeed at pushing artists even further in terms of creativity. I mean, that's my opinion, at least until now. Now, hear me out, right? Think about it like this, right? You need to compete, with a sophisticated network that can outpace you in terms of content, but not quality and creativity. It will basically obliterate itself into dullness rather fast because of how quickly it can iterate. And it needs you to feed it, basically. It needs you, the creative, to drive forward new ways of expression so that it can derive more data and create more art, that it doesn't, you know, so it doesn't hit a stale wall. By that time, the technology and ability of your common graduate artist will greatly have increased. It's the same thing as how kids nowadays are born, you know, in a far more intellectual state than what they were before. I'm not suggesting that they're smart straight out of the womb or anything, but they are able to process the information that we provide to them a lot quicker than what our ancestors did. And that's because of just the modern times. People are more susceptible now to technology than they were in the past. But you can argue that the AI-driven art, dialogue, narrative, sound compositing, you know, any of this stuff is on a natural path, and it is already, you know, affecting other industries. It's basically, it's moving along as probably as it was intended. It was bound to happen at some point, but it is affecting other industries as well that are beyond this scope. Now, the issue isn't specific to art. It's affecting many others, and it's already been affecting them for a while now, right? Think of the good old factory worker who, that, you know, he most likely has now been fully replaced by a machine. Mercedes-Benz, as an example, have a mostly automated production line where the only workers are engineers that take care of the upkeep of those machines, and there are no operators inside. They're the thing of the past. There's a Chinese factory as well that is 90% automated on manufacturing cars. Again, you don't really see the operator. You don't really, you know, your dad, your mom, or whoever is not really working in those factories anymore. Those jobs don't exist anymore because of machine learning, because of robots that are doing that work. In a sense, that is also AI, if you want to call it that. Now, with that said, I do want to, go through some quotes that some people have made on automation and robotic quotes. So, from Tom Purcell, he said, "The higher the minimum wage goes, the lower the threshold will go for robots to replace humans in many minimum wage roles. So, the higher the pay for the workers, it just makes companies more incentivized to actually go through automation just to cut off those costs." Now, Alec Ross has said the robots of the cartoons and movies from the 1970s are going to be the reality of the 2020s, and I agree. I mean, in many cases, this is happening, and whether we're like it or not, the people that have been replaced from their jobs right now, they don't really have a voice. They don't have a big enough voice like the artists on Artstation, for example, to be able to protest. I mean, to protest that in such a more social and visible way. Sure, they do their local protests and so on, but I don't think it's ever been, it can be as prevalent as what social media can drive from people that are generally working in, in jobs where they are office bound, for example. Now, Amy Stapleton has said, "We are entering a new world. The technologies of machine learning, speech recognition, and natural language understanding are reaching a nexus of capability. The end result is that we'll soon have the artificially intelligent assistants to help us in every aspect of our lives." The supplychaintoday.com says machine learning and deep learning will revolutionize supply chain automation. And I agree. I have seen it myself firsthand at my current job and my previous job. Dave Waters is saying the world is changing whether we're like it or not. Get involved or get left behind. I mean, again, corporate mentality, but in a way, he's right. If, when the Industrial Revolution hit, if people wouldn't have embraced it, where do you think we would be today? Do you think you would actually have a smartphone or a tablet where to draw on? I don't think so. It really needed for the technology to move on. Now, Elon Musk has said, what to do about mass unemployment. This is going to be a massive social change. There will be fewer and fewer jobs that a robot cannot do better than a human. These are not things that I wish will happen. These are simply things that I think will probably happen. It's just how life will sort of move. John F. Kennedy, and this is obviously a long time ago, automation does not need to be our enemy. I think machines can make life easier for men if men do not let the machines dominate them. Again, it's a pro to this sort of stuff. I know it doesn't apply in the same way, but again, there are some good things to be had from regulated processes for machines. Now, Ray Kurzweil, by the time we get to the 2040s, we'll be able to multiply human intelligence as a billionfold. That will be a profound change that's singular in nature. Computers are going to keep getting smaller and smaller. Ultimately, they will go inside our bodies and brains and make us healthier, make us smarter. Now, with that said, going forward with the far out concepts, I would say that most people, are fans of dark dystopian worlds where society has gone under, crime is at an all-time high, and augmented people are on the loose. AI is just part of our daily lives, massive networks running most of society. Now, pretty much that's what cyberpunk or any other thing. I mean, imagine these artists that are now, obviously posting on Artstation. They are people who most likely enjoy playing video games, and they most likely love the dystopian world. They love the Blade Runners and all that stuff, and they're thinking, "Wow, I wish I would love to live there." Some of them, I'm sure, will say that. Probably most of them. But the reality is that this AI thing, in terms of art, in terms of music, in terms of all sorts of things that it can do, machines and so on, it's part of that cycle moving towards there. And I think it's, again, regulation and just making sure that it's actually, we're in control of it and not it of us. It might lead us to a utopia rather than a dystopia. But I think only time will tell. Now, I could say, for example, resistance is futile. But you'd think that, I'm insane, so I should probably just get out of here. But, you're probably right. But my logic is simple, right? If you think none of this stuff is going to happen, then, my logic is simple. And I'm saying it in this way. If your brain has dreamed of it or imagined it, it will probably make a version of it. That's the creativity that defines us at this moment in time. Whether or not an AI will be able to express such an idea will only remain to be seen. So I don't know if we'll be able to invent an AI that's able to express that kind of behavior as well, to imagine things and then put them into practice. But all I know is that most of the things that we've imagined as science fiction in the past have now become a reality, and I think this trend will continue. Now, let me ask you this. If a true AI entity would be created, an artificial intelligence capable of existing on its own, and it would express the intention of wanting to create something, maybe artwork. Being an incredible smart entity, it would look at reference and absorb it probably at incredible speeds, and the work it would generate would effectively still will copy everyone else. What would this mean for you, the creator? Would you still feel cheated and that copyright should come into effect if this AI, this actual AI as defined in science fiction, for example, has generated something pixel by pixel? Would you still feel cheated if that was its ability? Now think of the library of Babel, but the image version of that. In there you can find every image that was, is, and ever will be, as every pixel in the image can be filled with every possible with any possible color. So but so basically you can create any image, but at the same time you can't actually find any image. The library is useful because you will never be able to find anything in it. As I said, at the same time, it contains every possible image that could be created. It is an interesting thought experiment, but nonetheless useless. What if a true AI exists that is able to copy every pixel in front of it and recreate it by hand, as you'd call it, by hand? And would you say that that's copyrighted if, for example, it included a piece of your artwork or something that is seen in the out there, like maybe a billboard or something like that? Would I don't know, Disney, for example, be able to say that this is plagiarism? This AI has now drawn Mickey Mouse in its AI as it's seen it outside in the world. I mean, doesn't the camera already do that? You could argue that there are many other methods to do the same thing today. So what's really the problem? I hope you guys found that video useful. I am quite interested to learn what you think. As I've said, I have used and still using at the minute. I'm using Midjourney. I'm not so sure that it's the right thing to do going forward, but for me, very useful so far. Not really had a stance on it. I wouldn't post the work anywhere unless I specifically state what it is and why I am posting it. I've got an Artstation. I've got an AI generated skybox, in the sense of it's something that I've done after in post, but primarily I've used textures generated through that and stitched them together. It's not exactly a fully generated image through AI. There are stuff in there that are mine, generated through my stuff, and then I just stitched it together, as I said, alongside with the AI imagery and put it together. So I'm not, again, this sort of splicing of things is something that artists do a lot of times, and I think a lot of people aren't, they're not being so forthcoming with it. I think a lot of people are negating that that's the case. Not everybody does it, but I think a lot of people, especially at the reference stage and even at the blocking stage, they do use a lot of direct imagery for that, especially photos and so on, to discern how their scene is going to look like. I mean, look at Artstation and how popular the packs with naked men and women are. A lot of people buy those because they want to have all those poses so they can generate their artwork. And, a lot of people will study those, but a lot of other people also draw on top of them. It's something there to consider as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.